Hello, everyone. We are very happy to be back again to this BIM World Cup presentation. Welcome, Ignacy.
Thank you so much for having me. Welcome, everybody.
And we will be with Billel also in a few minutes. So if you want, you can present yourself also in the comments. We will be very happy to know from where you are from. Okay, hello, Billel.
Hi, how are you doing?
So we are
We're
just
doing
starting.
great, thank you.
How are you doing? Welcome to all in the BIM World Cup. Nice to have you, and welcome to Ignacy, who will represent Norway. I don't know if Norway is very good at football, but I think at BIM,
the girl team is very good, but the guys need to improve a bit.
For sure.
Nice.
Okay, guys.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, so I will just present a little bit our Agile BIM community, and after Billel will ask a few questions to Ignacy.
Yeah.
So if you don't remember, so we are trying to Billel, please. So we are trying to establish a new approach to BIM methodology with the improving method of agile. So there is a lot of things to know about agile. So we just start a website that is agilebim.com, so we can go to visit this website, and we put on this website all the information that we found about this. And you will see also all our meetups and presentation. So we create this community in 2018. So you have this agilebim.org website. We have a meetup group, and we have also a LinkedIn group. And so you can find all the information in this LinkedIn. So just search for Agile BIM in LinkedIn, and you can apply to our group. So our community is sponsored by Bricks app. So you can visit bricksapp.io if you want. It's an Agile collaboration tool to use with BIM, and it's sponsored also with any architect here in France. So as I mentioned, you can find all our previous meetup in the agilebim.org website. A lot of different things, and what is very interesting is there is a lot of different people from all around the world. So from Brazil, from USA, from England, and it was a very interesting journey to have all these people from all around the world thinking about the same thing to improve the BIM process with Agile. You can also add your company if you think you are working with some Agile process. It will be interesting to have your reference. And also, you are probably on YouTube, so you can find all the previous Agile BIM meetup on our YouTube channel. So don't hesitate to subscribe, to put the thumb on our video, and we will be very happy also. So Billel, I'll let you introduce Ignacy, and thank you, Ignacy, for your presence.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Francois, for your presentation. Welcome, Ignacy, and welcome all of you. Just want to ask the first question, which is, can you present yourself, please, Ignacy?
Yeah.
And tell us more about you.
Sure. So once again, Billel, thanks for having me. Thank you, Francois. It was lovely to be in the show and to show some kind of presentation about the state of BIM in Norway. So for those who don't know me, my name is Ignacy Lozinski. I'm Polish, but I'm based in Norway, in Oslo. I'm experienced BIM coordinator and BIM manager, and I work mainly on the Norwegian construction market. I'm also the author of Become BIM Coordinator online training, which teaches AC professionals BIM coordination in depth. Right now, more than 300 people joined the first and second edition of the training, and I'm going to release it in the next year at the January. What's more, I'm also the co-founder of BIM Corner blog. Some of you maybe know the blog. We are out there for 4 years right now. There is a lot of articles in the BIM blog, all for free. So we do it for community. A few more things about me. I'm a BIM practitioner. I don't talk about BIM like from books only and from the university desk, but I'm a BIM practitioner on a daily basis. I work for a multi-consult company, which is one of the biggest companies in Norway. I'm a digital collaboration leader there on one of the biggest infrastructure projects in Norway, which is Oslo Metro Station. Which I'm going to talk about in today's presentation, I think, as well. And what's more, I'm do some public speaking, and I try to attend various BIM conferences, sometimes as a presenter and sometimes as a participant. And just one last thing, because I'm quite active on LinkedIn, posting valuable daily insights about BIM technology, construction technology mainly. So feel free to follow me there. It's always a pleasure to meet other people. Of course, follow also Agile BIM, and they are doing a great job promoting the Agile methodology and Lean principles in the construction industry. So I think, Billel, that sums me up quite well.
Oh, thank you. Nice, very good. I will start with one question, I think, which is, can you provide, please, an overview of the current state of BIM in Norway? Because we listen that there are a lot of new standards that are used in Norway, a new projects based on, I would say, new kind of new standard, BIM standard internationally. Mm-hmm. So can you give us of what's going on in practice, and can you give us the practical experience on the ground?
Sure. Sure. I would love to. Sure, I would love to. So, actually, when it comes to the current state of BIM, I just want to start from the research that was conducted by Nemetschek Group, which is one of the largest BIM software producers and resellers. They made this research where they revealed that the Nordic countries are, let's say, on the forefront of implementing BIM methodology. And in particular, Norway actually has remarkable growth in its BIM market in recent years. And from my perspective as a person, as an AEC professional working in this industry, I see several factors behind it. So I've listed a few of them. I listed a few of them that seems to me to be the most significant ones. I would like to briefly discuss them to show you, the better picture of situation in Norway. So let's start with the first point, that the Norwegian government strongly supports the implementation of BIM, and they already has set a high requirements for construction industry to use BIM already early in 2010. So there is an institution called Statsbygg. This is Norwegian organization for public constructions and properties. And already in 2005, they conducted a pilot project which verifies the possibility of using IFC schema during the design phase of the project. And then in 2008, they standardized these requirements of the BIM projects, and they released the document, the BIM manual. I don't know if I can point here. I don't know if you guys seeing this pointer, but this is the BIM manual.
Yeah, we can do. You can show. Yeah, we can see.
So they released in 2008 the first version, and then in 2010 all the Statsbygg project, like museums, we see here the Munch Museum, universities, governmental buildings, required to use the open IFC format for the entire construction operational cycle. So all the tender participants need to use a BIM methodology, to be able to compete for the tender. It was a huge driver for many companies. What's more, in 2021, the Statsbygg created very specific BIM requirement named Simba. It's funny because the name comes from the lion cub from Lion King. to make it just easier to understand, to remember. And that full documentation is available here on this website, statsbig.no/BIM. Most of the documents are in Norwegian, but there are also a lot of documents in English. So I encourage everyone to visit the website. And these documents specify model requirements, including the level of detail of the models that are delivered to each stage of the project development. So this is the detail level 1, detail level 2, 3, and 4, and all the elements are described there. So this is quite vast and extensive document. They also describe how to control the quality of the models, which is very important aspect of every BIM delivery. And apart from Statsbygg, the similar governmental institutions like Bane NOR, which is responsible for railway projects in Norway, has also created their own documents defining BIM requirements. Also, Statens vegvesen created their own handbook V770 for data model output, which also defines the requirements of the BIM. So such governmental requirements have caused that companies and contractors needed to invest more and more in BIM development early on in order, to be able to participate in the tender and compete with other companies. What's more, another important aspect of BIM maturity, why the BIM maturity index is so high in Norway, I think, was the fact that design construction companies themselves began to use BIM methodology to fulfill the future requirements of governmental institutions. So these companies, first of all, they saw a huge potential in using BIM in many areas of their operations. And actually, Norway starts to be a producer, one of the most innovative projects in the world when it comes to BIM. So the first major project, I think, which became a milestone was Vama 12. This is a hydroelectric power station. It was a drawing-less project already in 2010. It means that the construction was built, like the whole building was built without a drawing. It was fully based on a 3D model. What's more, this project received Autodesk BIM award and begin, let's say, the exponential growth of Norwegian BIM environment. And after this, there are many fantastic projects here which were created and we can say increasingly push the boundaries of how BIM is used in Norway. One of the good examples here is this bridge, Landselva Bridge, which received in 2020 the Tekla BIM Award. There are many innovative solutions which were incorporated into this model, into this project, mainly because it is currently built without a drawing as well. So this is a drawing-less project as well. Fully used 3D design models and its data to construct the whole structure. Another project worth mentioning, which also pushed the boundaries of how we use BIM in Norway, was this project, hospital project in Stavanger. Also, clients set extremely high BIM requirements. And I have to say that to those mentioned projects, the hospital in Stavanger and Landselva Bridge, we in BIM Corner created a free extensive case study guide that all of you can download for free on BIM Corner website. We there describe in detail how BIM was implemented in those two projects. So if you are interested in knowing, the details, just go there. I'm not going to talk about those projects right now because of the time frame and time limits. And just to close the topic, like in the future, more and more, of course, unusual projects will be conducted in Norway. For example, this E39 highway, which is a ferry-free road from the west coast of Norway, from Kristiansand all the way up to Trondheim. And there are planned massive constructions like underwater floating tunnel, which we can see here, and the huge sun suspension bridges. And for sure, those projects will be conducted in BIM, and BIM will play a crucial role here. So I'm actually looking forward to be a part of those projects in the near future. And what's more, another very important factor contributing that Norway is on a high level of BIM implementation is that the market is relatively small. So they have only 5 million, like Norway has only 5 million inhabitants, and also the number of companies in Norway, construction companies, is relatively small. What's more, the market is less fragmented because it has fewer actors, fewer institutions, fewer organizations that need to agree upon to adoption of the given standard. Let me show it like this. Like, for example, in contrast, in United States, where the construction market is huge, and each state has its own laws, regulations, standards, there is a huge problem with implementation of national standards all over the country. But here in Norway, this problem doesn't exist. Therefore, when it comes to introducing new technologies, like relatively small markets like Norwegian one offers, and we can say undeniably advantage. And there are also 6 major design companies in Norway: Multiconsult, Norconsult, Asplan Via, Covi, Ramboll, and Sweco, and they, we can say, control the majority of the construction projects when it comes to design. So when one of those companies decides to implement an innovation that gives them the competitive advantage, the industry is in a way forced to follow, to suit it, because otherwise it will be not able to adapt to constantly evolving demands of the BIM of the construction market. What's more, these companies often work together. Like, for example, right now on the metro line project, we are working, Multiconsult and Covi is working together. So those companies are working together on various projects, and they exchange knowledge and workflows to together successfully deliver the projects. And I think this creates a constant growth of competency around BIM in many directions.
Thank you for.
Thanks. I just one last thing, maybe just to give you a quite
sure.
Because Norway is relatively small, but they have very strong position when it comes to BIM software producers. And BIM software producers in Norway also have a great impact in Norwegian BIM market, like Spacemaker, Nova Render, Dirufus, Catenda, Via Nova, or Norconsult Digital. They are all companies who create software which is used all around the world, and all of them are from Norway. So this, I think, 4 main reasons why I think that BIM in Norway is so advanced.
And Ignacy, one question about this software part. Why there is so many software solution from Norway? Is this?
I think a good question. I think that I'm not a specialist in the history of technology in Norway, but what I see, I know that there was an exponential economical growth in Norway in 1970s because they found the oil and gas, and oil and gas industry needed a lot of technologically advanced solutions, like design solutions, to create all the oil and gas infrastructure on the Atlantic and on the coast. And a lot of companies who right now are the developers, BIM developers, or develop some kind of solutions for BIM, they originate from oil and gas industry. So they have quite extensive experience, long experience, because they 3D is also used in the oil and gas industry. So I think it was a huge, like oil and gas industry has a huge impact on the construction industry here in Norway.
Yeah. I don't know if it's a good a good thing, but who knows? But it will be also interesting to know if this interest in the software industry for construction have an influence on the way BIM is produced, because in the software industry that is there, that the agile approach are coming. And so I don't know if because all this interest in the software and construction, they have some connection, and they try to implement more agile approach in the BIM. I don't know.
Like I just want to supply here that like the producers of software don't force to use the software, because most of the software which is produced, they based on the open BIM approach. So we are not forcing to use the software. We are forcing to, let's say, transit from the 2D to 3D. So this is more like this, and forcing to use better technology.
Okay.
I'm very impressed by the level of maturation and development of the BIM in Norway. I think we have a winner. I think a winner for the moment. I'm sorry for the United Emirates Arab and for Billel Zedazi, and I'm sorry also for Rafael from Montague from Ireland. But I think Norway is on the top for the moment. So I'm very impressed by the level.
We need to wait for the end of the presentation. Maybe I will show some wacky thing, and my place will be demolished. Norwegian.
Maybe. And I have this kind of question. I would like to ask you. Okay, we have seen a very beautiful things, very good things. But for the moment, what are some of the major challenges that BIM professionals face in Norway, and how they are being addressed in practical aspects?
So basically, like I will talk from my own perspective, okay? As a BIM professional who worked there for more than 8 years right now. So I see the huge, from my perspective, as a digital collaboration lead or a BIM manager, one of the biggest challenge that BIM professional in Norway must face, and this is not only in Norway, but I think in all over the world, this is the quality of data that we produce in projects. And there is a saying, of course, this is not Paulo Coelho who said it, but I think it's funny. No data is better than bad data. No data is better than bad data. And it sums up this problem quite well, because currently we produce huge amounts of data on every project. And the data is created by various, design teams, but contractors, and then used by contractors, subcontractors, project owners, different parties. If the produced data is incorrect, it has very serious consequences later on during construction and operational phases. So let's imagine that somebody receives incorrect data in the project. Getting incorrect data can have actually two consequences. The first, if a person relied on the wrong data, they may make a mistake, or let's say a poor judgment because of it. And this could result in design mistakes that requires a time-consuming redesign or incorrect quantity survey, leading, for example, to, let's say, incomplete order of. So after this happens a few times, and after the person who receives incorrect data several times, they actually may lose trust in that data. So they say, okay, for example, contractor, they say, okay, I receive constantly the bad data from the designer. I don't trust this data anymore. So they may start spending more time on data quality control, or worse, they even may create their own data sources and maintain those data sources. And actually, I see often such loss of trust in the original data when the contractors receive incorrect information from the designer. So just to understand the problem, I would like to just visualize an example. And the example is taken from the great article written by my colleague Konrad Fugas from BIM Corner. So here in the screenshot, we see a bathroom element that have an incorrect contractor number. Let's say this K29002 is instead of K2902. Okay. Now let's assume that the contractor is responsible for this for K2, which is responsible for this K22902, filters all objects under their responsibility, and then use these data, let's say, firstly to count the number of bathrooms they need to mount, and also to prepare a work schedule based on that amount. And let's say that secondly, they need to send a list of door numbers to door automation supplier. So if they rely only on this bad data, it might result that, for example, a work schedule is too tight because they added one more bathroom to their plan and they see they cannot fit into the schedule. Another thing, that the door automation, which was ordered because of the wrong number, is not programmed for these doors. So, and this is actually only one example from hundreds that I encounter and every project encounter every day. Bad data can cause many has a lot of actually consequences later on in downstream of development of the project. So how to address, because you asked about how to address this problem. So I think that the first thing, we need to improve the way data is checked in the models. And of course, I'm a BIM coordinator. I made a course about BIM coordination where I teach also how to validate the data. But I think that in the future, the validation of BIM data shouldn't be made manually, but it should be made like automatically. So automation of BIM data validation in a way eliminates the human error factor and also ensures that the data is consistent and it's accurate. And another aspect and another solution which I think could help a lot is to keep data outside the models in databases, because I think that models are not the ideal place to store information. Databases, on the other hand, are like the perfect solution for this purpose. That's why they are called databases. And thanks to databases, like finding errors, making changes to data, it's much easier. And once the data is corrected, then we could synchronize this data from database into parameters in the model, just to ensure that both sources, the database and the model, have accurate information. And of course, right now, there are a few applications on the market which supports this approach. One is mentioned already, Rufus, and another is Anker. This is a Norwegian startup. It offers a very interesting solution that connects, BIM data with models, with Revit models, with schedules. So I encourage everyone to test both applications. So I think this is the major challenge which I face right now as a BIM professional here in Norway.
Okay, thank you for your view of the situation. I would like to ask as you know, we are
sorry,
yeah.
Yes, I don't know. Yeah, we can say again that if there is some question or people want to ask some question, they can type it in the little chat in YouTube, and we will ask it to Ignacy.
Yeah, sure. Don't be shy. Don't be shy.
I'm here for you guys.
Feel free to. It's the time to do it. Yeah. As you know, we are in Agile BIM community, and when we talk about BIM, we like to talk about the Agile part, the project management part. So, as lean, tact, and others kind of framework. I would like to ask you, what is the current situation of this kind of methodology and project management approach? So, what is the current state of Agile, lean? Do you talk about that on the projects?
Yes, of course. And as I mentioned in the previous slides, Norway has several factors that, let's say, contribute to its advanced development in the construction industry. And apart from only these technical solutions, which I showed, like applications, those type of things, it's very important to explore also the new project implementation methodologies. Project planning methodologies. And in the recent years, various project management methodologies have been developed and incorporated, and they are actually incorporated in projects in Norway, like, for example, IPD, Integrated Project Delivery, VDC, Virtual Design and Construction, and also Lean Construction, and a few agile principles as well. And the industry has also seen the significant impact of IT world, which use the Lean and Agile and Scrum methodologies. So we starting to see it as well in the construction projects. And of course, VDC, IPD, and Lean Construction, there are distinct methodologies, but they often share the same similarities in when it comes to goals and principles. So firstly, all of them emphasis on improving efficiency in the construction, on eliminating waste, reducing errors, optimize how the work of the project is complete more quickly and cost effectively. Another thing is that another similar principle is that we focus on continuous improvement, because continuous improvement is a fundamental principle of Lean construction, and it actually aligns with iterative nature of VDC and IPD methodologies, because these methodologies encourage ongoing assessment and adjustment of processes to achieve better results. And the last one, what's more, all those methodologies promote collaboration among projects, among all stakeholders, including contractors, designers, owners. So they often encourage open communication between each other. So in Norway, the majority of the contracts still use the design bid build or design build contracts, but these contracts, because these old ways of designing, of delivering projects, they divide the projects into various parties, into smaller parties. They're actually like separate projects, and we need to agree to separate contracts. However, like projects that follow Lean principles are becoming more common, and these projects emphasize collaboration, continuous improvement, and error reduction, as I mentioned before. And actually, I had the pleasure to work on the first IPD, Integrated Project Delivery project in Norway, which was the hospital project in Tonsberg in Norway, one of the cities near Oslo. So just to give you a quick overview, what is IPD, how it's like similar to Lean. So IPD is a form of the construction contract where the designer, client, and also contractor, all three parties are involved in the project from the very beginning of the design process until their completion. So in this case, on the Tonsberg project, which we are going to talk about right now, the client was the Sykehus i Vestfold, Skanska was the contractor, and the Cura Group was a designer. Cura Group was a we can say joint venture of several different companies, and they all key partners. They share over the project's risks and rewards. So we can say that if the project exceeds the planned budget, each participant will lose. But if the building is constructed below the cost, each participant will gain. So in a way, we are all parties are on the same boat. So IPD, same as Lean, encourage collaboration among participants, which makes the project more efficient and completed according to schedule and the budget. So I would like just briefly present the project. So this is the Tonsberg project. We need to construct those two buildings, 45,000 square meters. The cost of the project was estimated around 300 million US dollars, and the project was completed in 2021. And the project used solutions that support planning, collaboration. Firstly, the last planner system. The last planner system is a lean construction methodology or system or a tool, we can say, that focuses on improving planning and collaboration on construction projects. And the system is based on principle of, pool planning, which means that work is only pulled into the system when it's needed, as opposite to push planning. And here on the pictures, we see that teams meet weekly to plan the upcoming week using those sticky notes. They use a tool called work plan to identify what works need to be done and who will do it and when the work will be completed. As you can see here on the left, we have a physical version of the board of the planning, and on the right we have a digital version of it, which was displayed on the huddle wall, which I'm going to talk a little bit in the coming slides. Another thing was the tight collaboration among project teams. So to do it, all the stakeholders like designers, contractors, the owners, everybody was working in the same building near the construction site in Tonsberg. So we use so-called big rooms. As you can see over here, this is this big room. And those big rooms are actually large collaborative workspaces that bring together all key stakeholders on the project. And the purpose of big rooms is to facilitate communication about project team. What's more, the client was familiar actually that with the characteristics of IPD. So that's why they understood that achieving these ambitions require non-standard, methods, but also extraordinary tools. That's why we had the huddle wall. It was actually the world's largest huddle wall. It had like several meters long. I don't remember if it was 10 or even more. And we used this huddle wall on the coordination meetings. No, actually it was, I think, because I have a little bit note over here, it was over 10 meters long. And it could actually accommodate 3 separate designing groups. So I'll just show you guys in a sec. So here, for example, we visualize a Solibri model. And with this pen, my friend Pelle, with this pen, Pelle could move the model, move the snipping plane, just to cut the model in the right direction which he wanted. So the board was interactive. So the huddle wall, it's called like intelligent wall. It was a digital screen, and we displayed various content. Someone displayed the normal PDFs or screenshots. Someone was showing the model. Someone was showing the schedule of the project. So in this case, for example, from my perspective, I use the huddle wall for the coordination meetings. So the team displayed the model on the screen, and then we discussed the solutions. We could create a notes, as you can see here. We could create a notes already in the model using this device, and then send it via email or via other application to those who are responsible for the problem. So yeah, this was we can say a bit about the state of lean agile. Maybe I didn't answer directly to the question, but I just wanted to show you a few principles that we incorporated from these methodologies into real project.
Yes, we have a comment of Sebastian about this very impressive agile wall. That's incredible. And so everyone was around that, and so every day you have a meeting around this wall.
Like for example, we had coordination meetings weekly, but each day different groups had different meetings. So as you can see over here, there are separate meetings. Like one meeting over here, they are showing some kind of problem. They are showing another thing. They are showing, those guys are showing another thing. So different groups could work together and discuss it. Since I was working there in 2017 and 18, so I don't remember right now, the schedule or what kind of meetings were there. But I remember from my perspective, I had coordination meetings weekly where we used huddle wall as well to see the issues, coordination issues, to send the issues to different responsible parties, those type of things.
It was very specific to this project, or are you used to work with this kind of technology?
Actually, it was specific to this project. So client wanted to test the solution. That's why the whole building was actually built for the project. Like built, it was made of construction barracks. So it would, but inside there were great technology tools. So as you can see here, the building is made of like three plywoods, but actually we were working there with high tech.
Okay, we have a question from Radek0000. Also, have you considered the VR glasses instead of huddle walls? So probably for the next project.
Actually, I was implementing VR and AR in Multiconsult in 2016 already, and we tested VR in this project. But we saw that this is just a technological constraint, I think, because people felt dizzy after spending 20 minutes, 30 minutes or with VR glasses. Because VR, it's okay, it's cool. I tested a lot of different tools and binoculars, headsets over the last couple of years. But I struggle still to use it, for example, for an hour or two without a break, because I'm feeling dizzy. My head is dizzy after long period of using those type of tools. That's why we focused on huddle wall.
I know also that some people are totally sick to use it. So
exactly, exactly.
People they can't use it, and when we saw the number of people on the pictures, we imagine how many VR you need for that. So it's probably a problem.
We had a head-mounted headset, HTC Vive, in this project, but we use it for different purposes, for testing more or less. And architects just test their solutions, like how it will look in the real world. So they test it for those type of things, but not for collaboration meetings.
We have a few questions from Wei Yang. Also, in the planner system of this IPD method, how do your teams define the quality gate to decide go to the next step phase?
I don't know, because I wasn't a part of. You mean, I think this planning? I don't know. I will be frank with you, because I wasn't in a team who planned. I'm not a project manager. I didn't plan those activities, so I cannot answer this question.
Yeah. So you can send us the the contact of the people who are in charge of that, and we can invite him to to have some more.
For sure,
probably.
because here as well, a multi-consult company was involved. I was working for multi-consult in this project as well.
Okay. We have also another question of Marcin. Can you tell which software is used for infrastructure design in Norway? Yes, because infrastructure and construction, sometimes the software are not totally the same.
I will talk a little bit about it in the coming slides, I think, okay, when I will present
no problem.
An example of the project which I'm working on right now. But I will just quickly answer. We use Civil 3D, we use InfraWorks, we use NovaPoint for design, we use Tekla Structure for tunnels, for example. For infrastructure, we mostly use NovaPoint and Quadri.
I think, yeah, great. We can just get the last question with the IPB and the Huddle Wall project. Question from Ayub Bahroun. If an offshore design firm is tasked with assisting in the reformulation of Huddle Wall projects, they can play a crucial role in providing expert and support to ensure. So basically, he's asking about the link between when you work abroad and when you're on site. Do you see a pros for this kind of using, or you see more, for example, more based on site?
Just can you give me a second? I will just read the question just to.
Yeah, it's more about commercial ad or something like that.
Project success. I actually don't understand the question.
I think the question is it a good tool to use when you work remotely, for example, and when you have a team maybe on site? Is it a tool for
like
that?
Like the Huddle Wall in their basic principle is a tool that gives us as designers or even contractors the ability to interact with models, with different tools during the meeting. So if you, for example, if you are offshore and you are working online, so you, Billel, you are based in Saudi Arabia, you, Francois, in France, and me, I'm here in Norway. So there is no point to use the Huddle Wall. But if we are sitting in the same room and we are discussing something, it might be very helpful. But you know, it was a choice of the owner. But using the big screen like a TV screen and sitting in front of the PC and moving something or changing something using PC also works well. Also, the client had some money to test different solutions.
Yeah. Just another question more about the agile approach. Do you think there could be a generalization of this approach? And we know that in some country you have some law or some specification to or obligation to use this kind of approach. Do you think it could be possible? And
like, I see a huge possibility, and I see the huge movement in incorporation of VDC, virtual design and construction methodology, which I meant before. It has similarities to agile. I'm not an agile BIM agile expert at all. I was working for a software company as well as a developer, so I know like the principles, but I would be frank with you that in Norway, I don't see a huge movement in like the agile. They know, maybe not in agile, but as I said, the principles of the agile or lean are the same, but they are packed in a different name of the methodology. So of course we see the huge value in agile principles, but they are used in a different project development methodology.
But the idea is to find the way to use this principle.
Exactly.
Every team has a different way to use this principle. That's the principle of agility.
Exactly. How we call it, if this is a VDC, IPD, or lean, it actually doesn't matter. If it works, then that's the whole point, I think.
Yeah. And do you know? Do you heard about some BIM manager or BIM consultant that that learned this agile approach or try to use it?
Like there is a movement, Lean Construction Norge. They are using the agile BIM methodology, and they actually been out there for over 10 years right now. So there is a huge group, and I know the person from Skanska, who is quite advanced in this topic. So after the presentation, we can talk privately and talk about this person. So maybe he can join the next webinar.
Thank you.
Sure. Thank you for your answers. So just for Marcin and Ayub, the two questions we will answer after at the end of the presentation. So feel free. Also, the guys, don't be shy. Ask question. We will answer at the end of the presentation. So now we can move on the practical part of the presentation. We're gonna show, I think, a project in practice, and Ignacy will give us an insight of what's going on in reality. So feel free, Ignacy, to
sure
present.
So basically, I like to talk about things that I know or I worked on before. So I'm not talking about things that imaginary things. That's why I choose for the presentation the Fornebubanen project, which I'm working on right now. And as I said earlier, year by year, the project in Norway reached an increasingly higher level of use of BIM methodology and the use of new solutions. So Tonsberg was conducted between 2017 and 21. And actually, I've learned a lot from this project, but currently working on for multi-console. For this project, I learned much more. And this is one of the largest infrastructure projects in Scandinavia right now. So the whole scope of the project is to build 6 different stations, which are connected with each other with a 8.2 kilometer tunnel, with all the technical infrastructure along its path. And the cost of the project is estimated to $1.8 billion US dollars. There are, of course, several demanding characteristics of this project, because firstly, there is a challenge of ground conditions. The construction completions with large pits in narrow urban areas. Infrastructure, also there is an infrastructure an interference with existing infrastructure like metros, railway, tram systems. And this causes that Fornebu is one of the most challenging projects in the modern Norwegian history. Just to give you the idea of the scale of the project, here we have some statistics from BIM 360, which we are using. So there are involved 29 companies, and more than 540 members are involved in the project right now. Right now, there is also 4,200 files produced and stored in the BIM 360, but they are not all of them, of course. This is just a small glimpse of all the files. And those files includes 26 coordination models, both in SMC, so Solibri model checker file, and NWD file, which is Navisworks file. And we have over 2,000 discipline models. Okay. So one of the challenging thing at the beginning of such a huge project was the choice of the software which project team will use. So instead of seeing the project as the typical rail or infrastructure projects, there was the decision that we are going to view it as a series of buildings, and in this case stations that are connected with tunnel segments. And for the design, for the building design, we mainly use Revit. We use it for architectural, for structural, geotechnical, HVC discipline, electrical, fire, and acoustics. And what's more, we use Tekla structures here for tunnels, and also for blasting and concrete lining, and NovaPoint and Civil 3D. We use it for rail technicalities, for water and sewer systems, for power supply along the rain, landscaping and terrain modeling, and geological models. And the main challenge with the software is to figure out how all these apps, these applications will work together in the most effective way. So here on the left, we have a data flow showing how architects, project owners, engineering team as well, should communicate with each other. Obviously, there was a central BIM cloud, and there was also a need to have a project portal. And the project portal, where we stored, also there was a document cloud, a file server that is only reachable for the engineering team. On the right side, actually, there was a data flow for typical station. So in the central part, we had BIM 360 as a central file sharing platform. On the left side, we had a BIM 360 design, and all the parties who worked with Revit used it. And what's more, we have also a file server due to a specific use of specific software. And what else? There was also a use of, we used a Solibri and Navisworks as a coordination tools, which still don't really don't work really well with BIM 360 docs, which is quite surprising. On the right, we have all disciplines that work with NovaPoint, which I mentioned, which use the Quadri cloud. So this was only a data flow diagram for the station, and here we have the data diagrams and data flows for the tunnels. So this is for underground works of the tunnel, and this is for inredning, how to say it in English, for inside works in the tunnels. So yeah, as you can see, the data flows and the whole point of connecting, of choosing the right application was quite a challenge. We need to figure out what we have, what kind of competencies our teams have, and how to connect all these tools into one, we can say, collaborative place. So to sum up, we had several CDE platforms. We didn't have only this, 6 platforms combined create one common data environment. And each of it has a bit different functions. SharePoint is for sharing relevant information among project stakeholders, like news, reports, valuable resources that are out there about the projects, the photos from a construction site, those type of things. We have also BIM docs, where we store all the model files. We have the BIM 360 mainly for Revit files, for Civil 3D files. We have Trimble and NovaPoint Quadri for all the railroads, sewer system, water sewer system models. And also we have also local files and workplace platform, which client use as a communication tool. Of course, we used also different platforms like BIM Collab for BIM issue management. We used D-Rufus, mentioned twice today, as an asset management tool, and EC Calcus BIM, which is a Norwegian company. We use it for cost calculations analysis. And having all well thoughts functional data communication, it's a good start, but of course it's not enough. We need also some kind of strategies, some processes, guidelines, rules that we are going to use as a team to deliver the project. As you guys see, there are over 540 people in the project, 29 different companies, a huge amount of people involved. So now we needed to create BIM documents, and we divide them into three main categories: the strategic documents, tactical documents, and operational documents. In this strategic area, we have a BIM strategy owned by our client. Then we have a project execution model document that are developed by the design team, but handed over and is now owned by the client. The BIM strategy, in a way, describes the goals of use of BIM, and it's quite general, we can say. Then we have the BIM execution plan, which describes the roles and the overall guidelines and the process diagrams, those that we've seen in the previous slide. And the third group are like detailed manuals. So in this operational group, we have detailed manuals, very specific manuals, digital production manuals, which have a specific requirements for each discipline about how to use a software, modeling, best practices, workflows, checklists, all those things that helps us fulfill the requirements. And all of them are actually created in separate documents. And what's more, this is very important to understand that all these documents are not a standalone file, but all they are interconnected with each other. So documents are full of links, full of connections to other documents, which describe in detail certain aspects of project delivery. And this logical structure of documents help us add a new documents and facilitates adding a new documents and editing existing documents as the project develops. What's more, I don't need, of course, to mention that those documents were stored in the cloud and accessible for all project participants, but all who have a permission to see them, you know. So data privacy is also an important, extremely important aspect of the document management strategy that were incorporated in the project. So a bit about apps, a bit about strategy and documents, but let's talk about the importance of the data, of the information in the model. Because, you know, right now, everybody is saying that, yeah, the most important thing in BIM is I and everything, but what it actually means. So I will try to explain it a bit, how we approach this this thought in the project. So when working on such a complex projects, we had to break down our work into smaller pieces. So as you see here, we have a work breakdown structure of the whole project. So firstly, we have the whole project, then those pieces are like station, tunnel, railway, underground system, and each pieces, if you, for example, basic elements, and all of those pieces are separate parts of the project. And as you can see, the parts of the project, the amount of the parts of the project is enormous. So that's why we needed to break down the structure. We needed to divide it into smaller pieces. And as you see here, each rectangle of the left diagram represents one big object. In this case, for example, we have a station. We have 6 stations, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is one station, Vekero station, which I'm responsible for. And this station is divided into smaller pieces, like entrance B, station platform, entrance A, other constructions. And each of those elements are divided into smaller pieces as well. And you know, this WBS, we call it PNS because it's Norwegian, Norwegian equivalent to WBS. We store the information about those parameters, as you can see here, in the model, in the special property set. And here is a live model. So this is the model of one of the stations. And as you can see, if I click, this is I think this roof was clicked then. This is the PNS, and we color code the model or using appearance profiler in Navisworks just to know if the objects is located in a proper place, because you can see already, okay, if this is not blue, so there's some kind of error, but also it helps us localize the elements. Another aspect, another important parameter is the parameter status code, because also model needs to communicate about its maturity. So how is the model maturity on each element in the model? For this purpose, we used something we called element design status, and it actually shows how far the element have come in the design process. We have the classification from S0 to S6. S0 is identified and S6 is as built. And the model needs to communicate its maturity. And in order to do it, we actually use those 7 status codes. So we know that if we, for example, reach the S6 status, then all models contain all necessary information, for example, for operational maintenance. If the model got S2, so now we know that it's ready for the coordination. So this was the main principle of having the status codes inside the parameters in the model. And we can say that status codes is somehow a variation of LOD principle that was incorporated into Fornebu BIM project. So here, for example, you see how we use color codes, how we filter elements by status codes. This is one of the station. We see that yellow shows that this is X4 status of the of the status code parameter value, and it's written over here. When it comes to maturity, there is also two main aspects that are taken into account. Of course, there is a geometry of like size, amount, positions of the objects, but also object data, so parameter sets, parameters, and also values of these parameters. So an important aspect of any project is to first define the scope of work. And we need to define it on the very beginning of the project. And for our purposes, we needed to determine which information was required for a specific model elements in each discipline. So to accomplish this, we divided the model first into classification groups, such as groundworks, foundations, bearing systems, external walls, internal walls, and so on and so on. Then we dive deeper, and under each group, we divided and classified objects, specific objects, into different groups, such as concrete columns, steel girders, windows, doors, and so on. And then we created a hierarchy of quality levels ranging from KN2, which is quality niveau in Norwegian, which is quality level 2, 3, 4, 5. And each quality determines the necessity of using status codes for each system to fulfill the required quality. So, for example, S2 could have S1 status code, S2 status codes, and so on for different elements. The same with S3. For KN4, we wanted that all objects will have a status code for. And those status codes were connected to information that is required. So as you can see here, in if the object has S20 status code 0 parameter, they needed to have only 1, 2, 3, 4 parameters. If they have S4 status, they need to have all those parameters which are listed here. So as you see, the more and more parameters are obligatory as we reach next status code. And so this was the part of the data and how we approach this topic. But in this section, I just wanted to tell a little bit more about the BIM coordinator role as mine, because I'm responsible for coordination one of the metro station models. And in this just one station, we have over 80 different models. Some of them are exported to DWG, some of them are IFC files, and those files comes from various programs that I mentioned earlier. As you can see, Dynamo, Civil 3D, Grasshopper, Tekla, NovaPoint, NovaPool, Civil 3D, all of those applications. And as a BIM coordinator, I'm responsible for ensuring that the models are properly connected to each other. This is the first thing, that they are up to date all the time, and the quality of those models meets the expectations of the client and contractor. So here, we create a federated model, which is this one. And this federated model, we build it in Navisworks, and it is divided into smaller models that will logically fit into specific model groups. So we have, and those smaller models, we call them container models. And each container models contain only models related to their group. So for example, this BAN, railway, BANA model contains only models related to railway system. So here we have all railway systems. This tunnel only contains tunnel models. Station has only station models, and so on. And this logic keeps the whole structure of the federated model tidy and up to date. However, keeping all the models updated each week can be quite challenging, I have to say. And to address the issue, we aim to automate the process of updating the federated model in Navisworks. And to achieve it, we use the Navisworks batch utility and Windows batch scripts. We created a Navisworks batch routine that automates the entire process. And actually, I'm not going to show you the details because it would take like 20 or 30 minutes to explain all of them. But mainly, the process outlines the tasks that needed to be performed each day from Saturday to Monday to ensure that the federated model on Monday is ready, is up to date, and on Monday morning, all the designers, contractors, owners can use the up-to-date models and start a new week of the work. Just a bit about 5D and the cost calculation that are based on the same models with the WBS parameters, the classification types and quantities. Then we export them to IFC files. These IFC files contains property sets, properties, and also, of course, the values of these parameters. And then we import the data to a program called EasyCalcus, which is a Norwegian software. And in this program, we have a configuration file. And this file reads the necessary information and the geometry. Then we add specific recipes. We call them recipes from our database. And the result of those calculations is the cost, is the carbon footprint, and also the life cycle cost. So here we have a simple snapshot of actual software where we have imported IFC model of the part of the building. And here we have the recipe database, then at the bottom, and then we do those adjustments, which I mentioned before. And the result is the cost, and we store the cost, the LCC calculations, and also carbon footprint calculations in the tables and spreadsheets. So basically, this is what I wanted to show you today. When it comes to Fornebubanen, it's actually a tip of the iceberg. How much is going on in this project. I've been working on this project for over a year right now, and I'm still learning something new every day. The project is huge, and we encounter new challenges on a weekly basis. For example, the whole part of automation, like using Dynamo and Grasshopper to model tunnels, railway routes, using parametric tools. And this is the huge topic. Another topic like data visualization, how data is visualized by using Power BI to have the dashboard that help project managers make better decisions. And the last part is the BIM on construction site, how models are used on the construction site. This is also the big topic, but I know that we have a time limit, so maybe we can talk about those type of things in the future. So for now, thank you for the attention. I hope you guys learned something from today's presentation. Thank you for our fantastic audience for being here.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ignacy. It was very impressive, and as you mentioned a few times, yes, you can talk about that a few hours, so it could be an idea to have a new meeting about a more detailed presentation. But it was, from my point, very detailed on the process part. So that's the part that we are more interested in. And I was interested to know more about how do you implement this kind of process, because it's very technical, it's very specific. And so do you have specific learning process? Do you have a lot of control process? And so the question is, how do you create a culture of work specifically for this project with people that are coming from different company? And big technology, it's interesting, but after for our BIM Agile meetup, the question is how we create a culture of work around this technology also.
Just as disclaimer, because I joined the project last year and it started in 2017, so I wasn't there when all the checklists, guidelines, strategies, and the way all the things work right now was set up and incorporated. So I actually came in when all the things were set up, so I could see that the whole organization works really well, like a Swiss watch.
But how do you start with this process? Yeah. How do you discover this process?
So the main thing which I saw at the very first when I first encountered the project was that everything had their own routines and processes described. And there was one place where I could go when I didn't know something. Okay, Ignacy, here you have a routine about this. I go there and it's described piece by piece, so I knew that so everything was described, and it was quite unique, because in the previous projects there was often mess with the documentation guidelines. Here there is an order, and I liked it a lot. So I think that the first thing was to establish a really good BIM strategies guidelines that people will follow when they are established and they are understood.
Okay. A place to share all this information.
And one place to share the information, and trying to be as simple as possible, because if there is a complexity in it, it will hinder to be used.
And I have a question. Which kind of use or which kind of place do you use to centralize to all this kind of processes? Do you use a wiki? Do you use some kind of
No,
wiki?
we have a SharePoint. We have a SharePoint site where you can go, and this is a SharePoint site dedicated for the project. And those are, but there are actually buttons. This is actually a website where you can go, type in the search field. You can also click on the different buttons to search for the things that you want to learn, or you want to know.
We have a few questions also. So there is one of Andrew. Any document that you recommend to your clients for them to work on their BIM strategy and BIM use?
Any document that you recommend to your clients, to them to work? I don't work. Actually, I don't work. I didn't work in the BIM strategy. As I said, I started like last year in the project. But any document, like, it depends on how advanced is the client in relation to BIM methodology. Are they starting? Are they want to have a Hollywood BIM, or they are aware of what it is and what kind of consequences it may have on the project? Because there are a lot of documents. Every country has their own documents. I like, for example, this document from Penn State University. It's very simple, but generally it shows the principles that, okay, when it comes to BIM uses, we have several different groups, like 24 different BIM uses. How you would like to, and we ask clients what kind of BIM uses you wanna incorporate into the project, how you wanna do it, and then if we know the BIM uses, then we build the strategy. And I think, I don't know exactly, but I like logically thinking. I think that this approach was also taken in the Fornebuban. What kind of things do you want? What kind of key uses will be incorporated? Those and those. Okay, this is how we will do it.
Okay, thank you. And we have also another question of Cyprian. Do you feel that the BIM methodology adoption in Norway is happening naturally, or is somewhat imposed by the authorities in public projects?
I think a bit it's pushed by. Of course, there are natural aspects that, as I mentioned, one company is doing something, they are showing something during the conference, and another company, okay, they are doing something, they automate something, so we need to do the same things. Like they automate how to model the tunnels, and they are going to create tunnel modeling in 10 hours instead of 10 days. Okay, so we need to push ourselves, push our teams to do the same. So in one way, it's a natural progress, but in another way, we see that the clients also require quite high. They set a quite high requirements, and it also is a fuel to move the boundaries. I hope I answered the question.
Yeah, it's quite complete. It's quite a complete question, complicated question, because there is a lot of different aspects, but you put some key points. And we have a last remark of Wei Wei. So she's impressed by your work. So how many BIM coordinators are participating in this project?
As far as I remember, we have a BIM group, and it consists of BIM leaders and strategists and BIM coordinators. We are 11 or 12 people right now.
Quite a big team.
Only, of course, only related to BIM coordination, but like people, modelers, there are like a lot of, like, everyone is modeling. There are no like drawing producers.
Okay, so last question because I think we have to end the meetup now. So it was from Michael. Is the Norway government mandating open standards format for the delivery of BIM?
Yes, they do.
Yes, they do.
Yes, they do. Statsbygg. I encourage you, Michael, to visit statsbygg.no BIM/BIM. There are documents about how they mandate and how they require BIM standards and IFC standard in their projects. The BIM craft, so it's BIM requirements, is called Simba. You can go there and check. But yes, the open standard is a requirement. Does it seem that all the countries utilize the ISO standard, and does
also yes, complementary? The ISO also is using.
Like, we have different standards, but I see, for example, that this standard is also starting to have a strong position. Let's say so. But with construction projects, if construction project starts in 2018 and you are working on it for 4 or 5 years, you are not going to change the standard in the middle of construction phase or design phase. So in Fornebubanen, we don't use the ISO 19650 standards, but we see that there is a movement in it in the sector. You are muted, Francois. You are muted. We cannot hear you.
Okay, I'm back. Sorry. So thank you for all this answer. I think it's time to end this meetup. It was a very interesting, a lot of information. Thank you for sharing all this stuff with you. We noticed that we can have another meeting with some more detail on the metro project that you present to us. So thank you, everyone. Please join us on our Agile BIM community on LinkedIn. Please like our video, and we'll hope you will organize another meetup until the end of this year. Meetup, sorry.
Sure,
Thank you so much, guys, for having me. It was a pleasure to present the project, to present the state of BIM in Norway. I hope we will get on the podium.
Well, we have to wait until last.
Of course.
You're on the good track. I think you're in the good track. Yeah.
Good.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, all of you, and I hope to see you soon, and for the next meetup. And have a nice day. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.